the idea is, I would say that if somebody's going to learn the psychological skills, they should learn it with what they're going to be doing already. A lot of people are in law enforcement, firefighting, right? Emergency services, all these kinds of things. So think about how you could blend the psychological tools in your career, maybe as a promotional tool, because it's going to add value.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Career Services Presents Inside the Industry Professor Spotlight Series. Today we have Professor Sanjay Paul of the College of Arts and Sciences. Professor Paul, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us the classes that you teach?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much, Mr. Yun. My name is Sanjay Paul, and I'm one of the adjunct instructors here at Columbia Southern, and I teach a range of psychology and sociology courses.
That's awesome. So in teaching psychology, do you have experience in the psychology field, or where's your background experience?
So this is a great question, Mr. Yun. I have a master's in psychology with a graduate certificate in conflict resolution. I have a master's of arts in sociology. Mental health counseling, I got 18 graduate credit hours, and then I also have certificates in communication. So I do a lot of counseling classes here at the community college, and then I try to parlay that information and knowledge to Columbia Southern. But I also have done a lot of training, motivating, coaching.
So can you tell us maybe some special skills that you think students should be seeking or try to possess for someone who wants to go into psychology and, doing mental health or doing training seminars?
Sure. So, I think the thing that you want to do is follow your passion in terms of the areas. So at first I didn't know, when I was taking all these psychology and mental health classes, where everything was going to end up. And 10 years later, 12 years later, I was coaching the mayor of Cincinnati. He got my resume, and I wanted to open up a motivational center in Cincinnati. And he said, I need help with a speech. Would you mind helping me? And I said, I didn't know that you were going to want this skill set, right? And we worked on his speech. He put me on his executive board, and he wanted that blend of psychology, sociology, communication, and other skills. So what I'm trying to say, that it's not that I'm anybody special or spectacular. It was just that he saw something that if the right person, if you make yourself marketable with psychological skills, you could fit almost anywhere, is what I'm saying. And so the way I would start is taking some general classes, and then maybe specializing in the second, third, or fourth year of your undergrad, having that idea, and then graduate school. And if you want to get the doctorate, like I'm getting a doctorate in strategic leadership, but there's a lot of psychology, right? There's a lot of persuasion. It's very important that you know sooner rather than later what your long-term goal is, because then you can make efforts towards achieving those goals. So if you know you're going to want to do the doctorate now, it's better to do it now while you have. And then you want to make sure that the degree that you're going to earn is going to help you to achieve your goals. So for example, my brother in California has his doctorate in, he has a clinical psychology background. So you're going to do more abnormal, okay? And then if you're doing counseling psychology, a doctorate in that, you're going to do more everyday adjustment or marital issues maybe, and then you could work on a marriage and family therapy type of route. Is that making sense? So the idea is you want to position yourself to have 3 to 4 key skill sets. So if I was to hire you in the psychology field, or notice what the mayor did, right? I didn't know that was going to happen. I had my particular idea, but he knew what he wanted. And the thing is, he was humble enough to learn. And he had paid consultants already, and I worked for free. I volunteered, but it was really cool to get into his idea and see what he was willing to do. I talked to him about persuasion. And the idea is, I would say that if somebody's going to learn the psychological skills, they should learn it with what they're going to be doing already. A lot of people are in law enforcement, firefighting, right? Emergency services, all these kinds of things. So think about how you could blend the psychological tools in your career, maybe as a promotional tool, because it's going to add value. And finding mentors in the field is very important.
That's an awesome answer. And I know you kind of touched on earlier about your career trajectory and the different areas that you progressed through. But did you always see yourself doing what you're doing now, like teaching, and also what you're doing with your motivational speaking and things like that? Or how did you kind of start out on that career path?
I grew up in an immigrant community outside of Chicago, born and raised. My parents were immigrants. And so I didn't know, we just valued education, and we just valued world travel. They taught us how to appreciate all cultures. So we just grew up in this microcosm of the world, and I just loved learning from a young age. And I knew from an early age that there's something in us that can motivate us to get excited. And then I noticed that different peaks and valleys of my life, I've always gone to psychology for the tools, because I didn't know. I became an English teacher. Traveled, started teaching in different countries. And then I tried a lot of things, and I just kept going back to psychology. And I said, but it wasn't just the counseling. I did the counseling, but I felt more of the strategy, the motivation. And then I eventually noticed, like around 2003, people started paying me more for teaching. And then I had mentorship at another university, and she says, this is how you build your teaching. And then I started putting it all together. And then the thing with the mayor, the motivational involvement, and it kept escalating and snowballing. Your work and play need to be seamless. What do you think? Freud talks about this, that your life is just an extension of who you are, your work, your play, it's all connected. What do you think?
Yes. So true. So true. And that kind of snowballs into the next question. You touched on mentors, and we talked to our students a lot about networking and things like that. So you mentioned the name of a mentor. So do you currently have people that you go to for mentors? And are you a mentor right now to people, you would say?
So my current mentors are in leadership, because I'm noticing that I'm leading, and I'm noticing, how do I lead an organization? I'm going to go through 2 levels of promotion here over the next 5 years, and we've already mapped out what's needed. I'm on executive hiring committees. Now I taught nurses, but I'm not a nurse. So we had to defer to the hiring committee and find out what they wanted, and then we offered our input. But what happens is, the longer you stay in the field, they become your peers. So in other words, the mentor I told you that I met 20 years ago, we're seeing more eye to eye. You see, there's a difference. I'm not going to him with the same kinds of questions. He's asking about my well-being. What are you up to? You become a mentor because this guy that reached out to me, the student, he says, I want to see if you can help to guide me. They come up to you. And one of the things about self-confidence that you learn is you don't have to tell anybody anything. Your life is your message. Gandhi talks about that, right? That your life, who you are, your character, your integrity, your values, all of it's an accumulation, no matter what stage of life that you're in, and that becomes your presence is work on becoming the best version of ourselves. So the mentors can be in different areas. So I have a trainer for physical fitness. I have a massage therapist. He's kind of my mentor. How do I stay stress free? Work on that. I have and then I have my police psychologist, right? The stress management expert. I have Dan Clerman out in California. Now I have the motivational guy who kind of gave me a jump start in my career. And Michael Jeffries from Yes Seminars, and I love him. And he's the one that connected me to these famous motivators. I got to help him at the events. And you start to see, well, this works. So I think it's very important to have those people around you, and I don't know if you agree, that are a little bit further down the road, that stretch you. But then what happens is, I tell my students the same thing. You want a mentor. It could be a boys or girls club or something. And it reinforces your learning by 90% more. By teaching other people, if we look at William Glasser's theory. But mainly, currently, leadership, integrity, ethics, I'm looking a lot at leaders in the past year.
And that's good too, like, what you said about having these different mentors in different areas, because they can all help you with different areas that you might not have, direct experience in, and they can give you some information on that and some touch points. So on to the next question. What would you say has been the most challenging part of your career path overall?
I think the challenging part of the career path is not realizing that, and this is a great question, Ms. Duyan, is that when you get hired somewhere, that job might not be forever. You realize it, right? We go through 5 to 7 careers and 20 jobs. And the person that hired you is not the same person 3 bosses later. And the culture of the organization has changed, or you didn't know it well enough to know what you're getting into. So now I look at the values, and one of the reasons I love Columbia Southern University is you feel like a family here. Don't you feel like they want the best interest for the students? And if you read all the student reviews for the school, they love it. And it's for great people like yourself, directors and support people like yourself. And I would think teachers that are crazy like me, but all these things, they're amazing. All these bios you read from the faculty, I've read through some of these faculty bios, and it's just great to be in their presence as well. And staff and students, it's just a collaborative feeling. So you feel safer. And another thing that I did is I was vulnerable when they hired me here. I showed them, I shared a little bit of the journey. I think the biggest thing I'm learning in my career is by being vulnerable, being honest. Like, look, I've been rejected a lot. I've had people think I suck, and I've gone through, I've screwed up and I've done things, I've had people criticize me, berate me, all these things. You're going to get rejected. You're going to have people that, but why only focus on people that think we suck? You can give me constructive feedback, tell me what I need to work on, but I'd rather be honest and I'll always be respectful with somebody else. I'll try to do that. And then if you have some feedback for me, perfect, but I need to know what's going on here. You understand what I'm saying? So, and then that happens because then you start putting yourself in better environments. And now I notice more career stability. The offers are there. The stability is there. Can you teach this class? Can you do that? Can you design this? I'm like, what's going on here? You understand, Mr. Student? Because I can tell you, it's that hustling, it's that grinding, it's the weekend. And then I realized, I asked students, what do you, and Columbia Southern already does this because a lot of the professors are working really hard. What is it that you like? What can I do to make your experience better? And one of the things I do is I am available 7 days a week. A lot of professors don't like Sundays. Sunday's a sacred day. I still allow students to call me on Sunday. And I think those little extras, right, help to, I respond to every student in the discussion thread. There's certain things that I do little by little, they keep you secure a little bit. You know what I mean? It might not be perfect, but it's another step. So I try to go beyond the average. Tell me what you notice. What's the average? And let me see what I can do, not just to stay employed, but what can I do to make your experience better? And I feel that that's what's exciting, because then you feel more confident as you move through your career. But it has to be a good fit, and you have to really want it, because like I was telling that one student, if it's the wrong fit, right? It's going to be very hard to put in those hours. You got to be doing things for free. I taught classes for free here in Virginia when they had, I don't want to go into the situation, but if they only have one student, they need help, no problem. Other professors say no. I'll do whatever the school needs. And my boss asked me, does this work with your schedule? I said, are you kidding? You're my full-time employer. You decide, what? You're my boss, right? Am I missing something here? I'm like, is this a dream job? Like, I get to even decide my schedule and I'm full-time? So I just have this idea of gratitude where I can't even believe I'm getting asked certain things, and I'm given such latitude and free reign. Maybe they trust me. But then I also know the things I need to work on. They let me work on my own weaknesses, or, okay, I want to work on the advising processes. So I'm given the space, and even with Columbia Southern, right, they're helping me to develop, and that helps with the career longevity. So I've taken all those lessons, the rejections, the failures, they're there. And okay, what did I learn from that? How do I learn best? How do I teach best? And I just keep moving forward. It's just, and then I learned because you don't know where you're going to be. You think where you're going to be in a year, but if you just keep working on it, just see what happens. It's amazing.
I like how you mentioned the lessons, the rejection, and also about being a good fit. So for a parting piece of advice, what advice would you give to students or alumni who are wanting to get into the industry? They're working with like psychology or motivational speaking.
Sure. So with motivational speaking, you could do what I, have done, where I do that, because I use it more for faculty training, right? Or they'll have me do it. I do it more like that, not for a general audience, but I've done on-site company training. So the way that I started was, by doing a lot of volunteer work for that motivation company, driving up to Detroit, and I got to meet some of these idols that I had, and then I found out they're normal. They're just like us, and it was really cool. And then the idea of studying, constant learning. What I would suggest if someone's getting into it, joining Toastmasters. I belong to a group, a motivational group in Cincinnati, and a lot of these people, one guy did a TED talk, but he would speak in my class. I'd give him speaking invitations. He's very charismatic, right? So you want to hang out with these people. You want to network with them on LinkedIn. The educational qualifications from Columbia Southern. And then, while you're giving advice, they're coming to you for coaching, executive coaching, right? One guy wanted to make $190,000 and there was a job he wanted. I coached him, he got it. One guy was going in career transition, he got a $380,000 job. And it's funny because you know what they do? They reach out only when they need something. Some of these friends, right? Well, you want the coaching, but then, so it's just what it is all you're doing is you realize that they believe in you. So it's really something they see in themselves that they're just needing a validation for, but they're willing to try your strategies. And so what I would do is beyond the educational qualifications, the LinkedIn, volunteering like I did at a motivational seminar, just see what happens. Like you might get an email or call from the mayor or something like that. Some crazy stuff happens. It's just, you never know if you don't put yourself out there. The other thing I would do is find an area of psychology to specialize in, but then also maybe you can do what I'm doing, like with the interdisciplinary approach, right? The 5 qualifications, graduate qualifications, I'm working on the 5th. With the 18 graduate credit hours of mental health counseling, if you consider that one. Then that doctoral degree in strategic leadership, I'm still doing the psychology, but then I'm able to see where I'm applying it. It is a decision-making process, because if you want to get your doctorate in clinical psychology and work with abnormal, right? I have students that want to do that, abnormal psychology, that's great. But then there's some people that might want to get into the FBI. I had the FBI speak here in Virginia, and then you would want a doctorate if you want to go all the way and go into forensic psychology, perhaps. See what I'm saying? They might have some criminal matters they need help with or investigations. So I would say that having a long-term approach and having the right advisors can help you. And if you don't know, finish your bachelor's, right? Take a breadth of courses, kind of what I did, and then you take a break, a timeout, travel around, maybe volunteer. And I had a friend that knew he wanted to become a doctor even, and he was very motivated. He didn't get in initially, but he didn't let that rejection stop him. He knew his goal. So what he did is he volunteered for a year, then got in. And now he has a very successful medical practice up in my hometown. But he knew. So if you know the area of psychology, I would say that's great, But as you mentioned, I have different areas. But what I do is I bring them together. And I always knew that, okay, I want to get into education. It's just, I love learning. I love teaching. It feels like play. I would do this anyway, even if they didn't pay me. Don't tell Columbia Southern this, but that's how it should feel. So the idea is great that you love studying psychology, but then get around people, join Toastmasters, LinkedIn, get the degrees, qualifications, then advanced degrees once you know that you're specializing. And then look at me. It almost makes it look like I can't make up my mind. It's just that the career progresses. And, maybe that now in the past few years, it's more leadership, because I want to mentor that next generation coming up and how to become better citizens. And I just am fascinated by leadership. And I was also influenced by the mayor. I was running a city, but at that time he was using the skills in psychology and sociology. And now I'm doing more organizational leadership. You know what I mean? And plus you have more experiences to draw from. So one final piece of advice I would say is, I would say just to keep going the highest way that you can, and constant everyday learning and networking. I think that would be very important, just that putting yourself out there 1 hour a day and, just learning something new in the psychology field, but eventually specializing to give yourself a jump start and then being willing to see where it takes you.
Well, we thank you so much for the wealth of information, and just for being such a great asset and professor at Columbia Southern, and for taking the time to interview with me today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It's very exciting, and hopefully, someone finds it, of entertainment value. Maybe they could have a bag of popcorn as they're watching this. Who knows? It's wonderful.
I have no doubt. You bring such great energy, so thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.